For May something.
Well, getting ready.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I'd like to call this meeting to order. And I'd like to have a roll call to establish a quorum.
May we say the date is April
And the
12th?
date is April 12th, Wednesday, 2016. Tuesday, 2016.
Good thing I'm the secretary.
I know.
Deborah Mendel, Cheryl Wu.
Russell Ooms.
Brock Alexander.
James Motla. Jay Korea.
Wonderful. Well, before I do the agenda review, or we can alter the, change the agenda around to have our people here talk, do you need a chair back there? Can you get a chair, Brock? The purpose of the L.M.A Management Association. I'll wait. This is my second time as chair, second meeting. Okay, the purpose of the L.M.A Management Association is to manage the town of L.M.A, promote the economic well-being, and also preserve the cultural and historical integrity. That's what we're mandated to do by our bylaws. And these meetings are to conduct business, to make decisions, to keep the town running. So what we do, we're a simple group. We take care of the day-to-day necessities of paying bills. We pay the insurance, phone lines, town lighting, inspections, and other general maintenance items, things like that. So we are a legal body formed by the Board of Supervisors of Sacramento, California, or Sacramento County. And we follow the Brown Act, which I have a copy of right here. We follow. And we also have, we fill out what's called Form 700s, which is a conflict of interest that we all fill out so everybody knows our finances. We are unpaid and we're volunteers, and some of us drive 100 miles to be here. Our finances are maintained by a private accounting firm called Bruce Pisoni in Walnut Grove, and he writes all our checks. We sign them. Two of us are signed up to sign the checks, so we don't write our own checks. And we're here tonight to do work. And following the Brown Act, everyone attending this meeting will be given 3 minutes to talk on every public agenda item. We ask you that you keep your comments relevant to the agenda items, and I will stop you if you go off topic and of the agenda item. So speak to the agenda item if you come up forward. Please do not disrupt by shouting or talking without being recognized by the chair. This is a public comments. There is a public comments agenda at the end of the agenda where everyone will be given time to say whatever they want, whatever they think, any comment they want to say. And since we're required to be a public body, and because we are a public body, we speak openly, and all our documents are publicly available upon written request. So I am legally in charge of this meeting, and I intend to run it in a professional manner. So wonderful. So what we have before us is what's called agenda review. And I'm going to change the agenda with the agreement of the board. And I'm going to have the state parks people come up and give us their report on what's going on in the back of town. James, you want to talk a little bit about it?
Sure, it's kind of as an introduction to this. I live in the back of town here, and I was hearing some noise along the back levee, and on one of my walks I saw that there had been a truck back there and some more heavy equipment, so it perked my curiosity. So when this noise occurred, what was it, 3 days ago, 4 days ago, I went on back, and there was a whole group of people who were there, and one of them was Eddie Hard, who was here, and he was telling me about this project that they're in the beginning phases of. And so I said, that's great, would you be interested in coming to our Tuesday night meeting and telling us, as well as anybody else, because I put it out onto the Facebook page, about what he was going to be here and the eradication, hopefully, of the water hyacinth, primarily around Twin Cities Bridge. But as a way of introduction. So,
and we have A lot of people, we have Lynn, you're the manager of the project?
No, I'm actually the deputy in charge of boating and waterways, and so we do a number of things in that division. We do, yes, deal with water hyacinth, which you'll be hearing more about, so I won't speak any more to that. But we also do things like fund aquatic centers to help kids learn to be on water safely, use boats safely. We help fund boating education, and we also provide loans and grants for marinas and removal of abandoned vessels that are blocking waterways.
Really go-to person for that?
Yeah, so we do a lot of things within the confines, of course, of state and federal law and within the limits of our funding. So that's what we do. And I am not the expert on invasive species. There's staff here that are, and so they'll be speaking to you, and I'll be learning from them along with you.
Thank you so much. And who will be speaking? Introduce yourself.
Yes, good evening, Eddie Hard, California State Parks, manager of the Aquatic Invasive Species Branch. I'm joined here tonight by my field manager, Ed Samara, and also our
welcome.
sector superintendent, Rich Preston from the Goldfields District, which oversees this part of town. I'm here tonight just to explain a little bit about this particular project relative to the rest of the operations. Boating and Waterways oversees weed control for 68,000 acres of the Delta. We have got an integrated control program, which means we use chemicals to control the herbicide, control the hyacinth as an example, and we also use mechanical harvesting. And so what we have going on behind us here is an example of the mechanical harvesting operations that are like other places in the Delta, for example, around Stockton, around West Slough, around the South Delta. And so part of our operations is to get a handle on invasive aquatic plants, and this is how we do it, typically through chemical means and mechanical. And so we've been doing this since 1982, and you know, part of what we've seen out here is boaters are just you know, residents who don't own boats and aren't on the water, as we've seen an increase in water hyacinth growth throughout the waterways, in addition to other vegetation. And so part of our job is to manage this for three main issues. Economic issues, so recreational in part, navigation for the Deepwater Channel, public health, to ensure that the vegetation is not going to get entangled for swimmers, again, navigation component, but also vector-borne type activities for mosquitoes, for example. And then the third thing is for the environment. Part of this is a function of habitat for smelt in parts of the Delta. It's habitat for fish. So a lot of what we do is directed around and constrained for good reason to ensure that those populations of native salmonids or Delta smelt are protected by the way in which we do our practices. So we work a lot, very closely actually, with U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and NOAA Fisheries to ensure everything that we do when it comes to chemical and mechanical harvesting is done by the book and done within certain time frames of the year. So we're only allowed to chemically control weeds in the Delta from March 1st through November 30th. Okay? And then mechanical harvesting, we are not allowed to do any harvesting in May and June. So we have until 30 April to do some work here in Lost and pardon me, Snodgrass Sloughs. And our goal, hopefully, will be to start this back up again in July. Because there's a lot of material on Twin Cities Road that you'll notice when you drive across the bridge. I think it's, what, 1.7 miles of a clog on the the east side of the channel.
Yes.
If you're going up channel. And that's been there for quite a few years, as most of you have been aware. And part of our challenge has been with these constraints with time windows, we're only allowed to treat north of Highway 12 up to the I Street Bridge come June 1st. So we start our program typically for treating in March. So 3 months will go by before we are able to come into the North Delta to do any treatment, and the plants just grow profusely.
Oh.
So we can't get our vessels into this area by treating it with spray because we just can't get into it. It's grown,
Yes.
several feet high in some
On top of,
places.
on top of.
Right, and now you see some of the other aquatic weeds growing on top of the hyacinth.
Yes.
Those green patches are not hyacinth, that's water primrose.
Oh.
So part of the operation in the back, I want to specifically address that. We've worked very closely with Rich Preston and his staff, scientific staff up in the Goldfields office along with my scientific staff, and through Lynn, made sure that all the vegetation that is on the property behind us, on the Delta Meadows location, has been protected from any ingress, egress of the activity that's going on out there. So specifically, bringing in dump trucks to collect the hyacinth from the boat launch down there and bringing it along the railroad grade into the field and dumping it in those designated areas was specifically consulted with our Goldfield staff and our scientific staff to ensure that the native vegetation has come back in there, is protected, because they, as Goldfields has managed this, it's been pretty much allowed to restore by natural succession. There hasn't been specific plantings, to my knowledge, of trees. So we wanted to make sure that vegetation is restored in its natural way, and we didn't want to interfere with that. So you'll notice when you walk out there, there's some flagging and there's orange fencing, and that's to delineate exactly where the vehicles can travel and put the spoils. And the spoil, well, is part of it. If this is a park, we don't normally operate in a park through the mechanical harvesting. Usually it's adjacent to a levee and adjacent to an agricultural field where the grower will accept the hyacinth and put it into his or her field and let it decompose and incorporate it into the soil. So we're not in that kind of a scenario here. So we expect until the end of the month to have this operation going. We do expect to have limited access, unless I hear some suggestions tonight, of getting access from, I understand this location has non-motorized boat traffic coming in off the levee. On occasion, people will trailer a canoe or a kayak or something. That location there, that ramp, will be unoccupied, or will be occupied rather, pardon me, with this excavator while we're doing the work. It's typically going to be pushed to the side, I believe, Ed, so that someone may be able to get in there with a boat, okay, by non-motorized means. Because I know that was a concern. I talked to James and I think Bill. There's another gentleman around here. His name is Bill.
Chip who's here in the audience.
Oh, okay. Oh, very good. Okay. Well, there was another gentleman. His name was Bill. I didn't get his last name. But
Yes.
He's on vacation.
Yeah.
So part of that was just we want to be sensitive. I understand. I don't live here, but you guys do, and it's kind of like that's your backyard in a way, right? So any type of activity, we're sensitive to this. So that's part of the reason we wanted to disclose what we're up to. Because I imagined you were startled a bit. Yes, sure. Yeah.
I know this machinery is going to be going on that road.
On the old railroad grade, right?
Right. So you'll have this dump truck going back and forth. Now, how will that be with people walking and such? There'll be restrictions to that? Because I like to do my walks around that area.
Right.
Well,
my understanding is given the frequency of the transits of the boats from Snodgrass Slough through Lost and up to this location, it's taking about an hour or so.
Yes, about 45 minutes to an hour at the most.
So upon that arrival of the harvester, or the transport barge, to that ramp there, that truck will be getting material from the transport barge onto the truck. And when that truck takes off, he or she, I believe it's a gentleman, he'll be watching line of sight to ensure that no one's walking there.
Okay.
So he'll cautiously navigate down that.
Oh yeah, I just wanted to make sure that we weren't going to have a conflict between the public that does use that, including myself, and the heavy machinery there. And if so, then we can work out something to have it both be accessible for us as well as you can do your job, which I'm thrilled about.
Right, and one other thing that is important is hygienic. We did bring in a porta toilet because I noticed, when we were here doing our recon, I don't want to have anybody doing anything that they shouldn't be. So we, I believe, positioned it on the concrete pad with the fence around it.
That's an
Correct.
existing location that I had utilized in the
Where there's a
past.
garbage can, just to make sure that it was an appropriate place, and hopefully there's no issues of vandalism at this point. We haven't seen any,
No.
but we're here every day during the week except for Friday. So we work 4 days a week, 8-hour days on this operation. And so that's an important thing to keep aware of. And at any one given time, we'd have an excavator operating, a dump truck, and on the water, we would probably have, at some occasion, a parks vessel doing some monitoring, but primarily harvest, transport barge, and 2 harvesters.
2 harvesters, the excavator, and then we have another large harvester that will act as a transport barge as well.
Right.
So we are expecting, even though we started Monday, for this to double in the efforts that we're extracting the material, and so it's going to be a constant movement of truck going back and forth, and boats bringing in material and dropping off where the excavator can pull it out of the water.
So it's just still at this point 1 truck, so that was what we did. We wanted to minimize impact and dust and anything like this. So there will also be an environmental scientist, a biological monitor on site at all times during the operations, and that is a requirement of the California Department of Fish and Wildlife for our routine maintenance agreement to ensure that, one, the location where we're taking the material out of the water is not being impacted in some way. We were very, I think I spent more time in my entire life worrying about that one oak tree right there at the ramp. I've got 400 oak trees on my mom's property in Carmichael, and so I grew up very much appreciating oaks, but we had to go through consulting with a whole bunch of folks to make sure that the excavator arm wasn't going to damage that tree, because I didn't want any sort of issues. So I think we actually helped safety-wise, because some of those limbs were dead and they could have fallen on somebody anyway. So we did a 3-step method on that and trimmed that up. So we're good there. So that area in the field and the area by the boat launch and the old railroad grade is the extent to which we will be operating.
Oh.
And the road that leads down to that field. We won't be operating anywhere else that I'm aware of. So on any given day, you probably have, 3 or 4 like personal trucks on site for the operators of the equipment, plus our and so, I know there may be a concern about security, right? In terms of the gate being open and closed at the front of the facility out here. And so we've made sure that the people who are operating the equipment, either us or them, before we leave, the gate is locked and latched. Correct? And so that was a concern in terms of people coming in and out. I know that it's currently always locked, even if we weren't here, right, Rich?
It's supposed to.
Supposed to be. I know there was an issue a couple of days ago, a week ago or so, maybe a couple of weeks now, with the sheriff, and so.
Left open or something?
Correct.
Because we lived without it for 30 years.
Right. Well, okay, but we're trying to be good stewards.
Oh, okay,
so
good.
make sure it's
Yeah.
secure.
And there are homeless back there who will probably use your toilet, but I think they're going to see it as an upgrade and not hurt it.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Any questions?
Yeah, you mentioned mosquitoes.
Right.
Have you, hopefully you haven't sprayed yet? Because I'd hate to...
No, we haven't sprayed. You're talking about for the herbicide, for the.
Yeah, did you mention you sprayed for mosquitoes too?
No, we don't
No.
spray. That's the
No.
vector control district,
Oh,
the
that's
Sacramento
right.
Yellow vector
Oh,
control. But there's another project going on that I don't want to get into tonight, but it's the Congress only awards the United States with 4 projects across the country, and the Delta was chosen with the United States Department of Agriculture to do a area-wide project, which is an integrated project to look at how you control Agaricus densa, water hyacinth, and the rundo.
Lucky us.
And very lucky for us because there's quite a groundswell of local organized folks, but also at the local, state, and federal level, a lot of people have eyes on the Delta to help with a variety of things.
Yes.
And so this has been a galvanizing effort for us at Parks because our program, this particular effort at aquatic invasives has been part of our bread and butter for 30 years, right? So they've kind of helped us mature in places that we needed some help, and we've taught them a few things as well. So it's been very helpful, but part of it is to figure out new tools and techniques to control the problem of water hyacinth and Agaricus. So this is just part of it, and this is considered a nursery site.
Let me ask you, anybody have questions? Do you have any? Okay, anything? Debbie?
May I have your business cards before you leave, so I get your names right?
Oh, sure. Ed, do you any specific?
No, just I wanted to add what Eddie had mentioned, and when that was you're gonna see some improvements in the park area, because just as a result of us being able to operate there, we had to change some of the things there to render the ramp area usable for the dump truck to go in and out of there. So now that's resulted in what looks like to be an improvement in the ramp area.
Oh, good.
And as well as we've let the folks that do our abandoned vessel program know there was a boat in the water that was there submerged, and we've talked to them about that boat. And so hopefully the funds are there at this time that they can do that. If not, it'll be probably next fiscal year that they can probably address that, depending on other priorities they have in the county, which would be Sacramento County. And just overall too, just making sure that we're going to leave it in a better place than what it was when we first started. So there's been some tree trimming as well, and that's helped with the health of the oak trees that are out there, and just the overall quality of the water. We looked at the other weeds that are in the water there as well, the Agarria densa, and we've mapped that, and we're going to look at the possibility of doing a Agarria treatment there as well to open up that waterway, because if you've noticed at low tide, that stuff is almost grown all the way across the whole width of that waterway.
Yeah.
So those are a couple of things I wanted to mention as well, that just to add on to what Eddie has mentioned already.
Well, we're very pleased because we watched it helplessly grow and grow in the hot summers, and it just grew and grew, and we have freezes to some degree, it kills it, but it seems to come back rapidly.
Oh, it'll come back, and it's find a nice, happy place here in the Delta, and that's our job, is to try and control it as best we can, and like Eddie had mentioned, to lessen the impact that it has with the recreation and the commerce, and just people being out there to enjoy the water. So
Great. If you'd like to stand there, is there any member of the public who has?
I just was wondering, this is not annually then, this is just because there's a problem out there and then you'll come back?
well, we entered into this contract, and it's a 3-year contract that we have established, and this is the first year of that 3-year contract, so that we can address these problems in the Delta. They have another tool in the toolbox so that we can go to these places that we aren't able to treat yet. If we didn't have this available to us, then we would be waiting until June in order to come out here and start spraying. So by June, the problem could be threefold. And so, last year it got really bad into Oslu, going towards the Casumas, and you can see that from I-5 when you're going past. And I thought, this is getting, out of hand, and we need to have another way of being able to deal with the highest end out here. And so the mechanical harvesting is working out to be, to be that tool for us. The migration and the flows of the Delta toward the north, it happens in the winter because the south winds kick up, and anything that we aren't able to address with our spraying ends up coming this way. And then we have to wait and sit on it until the following June, and that wasn't going to work. So, we're really fortunate that we were able to get this money secured to do this contract and have these harvesters come out and do this work.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much.
I would have one other question, I guess, concerning all the debris left behind in the homeless camps down there. And I realize that isn't part of your scope, and right now we've begun to have some loose conversations about organizing some volunteer activity to go in and take all of that out. The contractor involved with the machinery has kind of offered a flatbed truck. We're talking to your biologist about how close we can get to that camp and still satisfy her concerns.
Yes, she's gone in there, and we've let our friends that manage the park there know about this situation as well. Picking up trash and cleaning up things out there. It looked like some parts of that encampment has been abandoned to a certain degree. So anything that we can do to help facilitate the cleanup of that area, we would certainly do if it's within,
That would be great.
Right. Okay.
Russell, we might be calling on local volunteer with wheelbarrows for a day
We
or
have
something.
wheelbarrows.
Yeah, I know you do.
I collect them.
So that,
I got a wheelbarrow.
it's pretty loose right now, maybe coming up in the future.
Okay, great.
That's a really good point.
Well,
Okay.
if there's nothing else, we thank you.
Certainly. Thank you for
Thank you very much.
And we're very, very, very happy as a town and as a group that you're here.
Thank you. We'll let you get on with your rest of your business. Thank you.
Okay,
You're welcome.
great.
All right, thank you, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
See you back there.
Okay.
So we're going to move on now to, we'll go back to our original agenda, which is approval of the minutes. You all have a copy in front of you.
There is a typo, which is under old business, second to the last line, should say proffer instead of proper. And I will correct.
Second to last line.
Under-
The
I'm
first
sorry,
paragraph.
first paragraph under old business. Ready, willing, and able to proffer is what it should say rather than proper.
Oh,
Or proper, or what is that mean?
Proffer.
Is that a word?
P-R-O-F-E, one F you mean? It's one F?
Two F's.
Oh, okay. Is that a real word?
Yeah,
Is it
That
spelled
is
right?
a,
Is it spelled right?
it is the way I say it.
Oh. That is okay.
It isn't spelled right.
this is, your copy is incorrect.
Okay.
I'm catching that typo.
Has anyone else found any errors or omissions or? The chair would entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So move with the change.
Second.
Yes.
All right, it's been so moved and seconded with that one change. All those in favor of approving the minutes signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Again, the opposed.
I do want to say, if anyone in the audience needs more copies of tonight's materials, just at the end of the meeting, just give me a name and address.
So moving on to the treasurer's report.
Yes, thank you, Russell. It's your third sheet in, I believe, yeah. And as you can see, our assets now for up until March 31st of 2016 are $32,618.40. So we're doing well. Of course, the delinquent assessments, we're still in the process of moving those slowly through to collection and to the legal course of things. And, I think we're doing well. We seem to have passed a dark cloud, and now we're moving into a much better position.
Wonderful. Does anybody have any questions for the treasurer? Great. Well, it looks good to me. Do I hear a motion to approve the treasurer's
Public
report?
has a question.
Not in this. This is our business. It's not public business. This is within us.
I'm one of the homeowners here.
This is our business. If you have
Brown
problems with
Act
it,
violation.
It's not a Brown Act violation. I have it here. I read it.
Every
Please-
agenda
Please
item
be quiet.
should be allowed to,
Please, no.
for the
not
public
this. This is
to
our own
speak
business. This
to
is
each
our-
agenda
This
item.
is our business. It's not an agenda item.
It's my business too.
To move to approve the report?
Okay, do I hear a second? Great. It's been moved and second to approve the report. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, moving on. Okay, the first thing we have is old business. And Jay, this is you. This is, to give a little detail, this town is under what's called a special planning area. And it was made, I think, in 82, originally written in 1982.
92.
92?
No,
It was a while ago.
I don't know.
Because they've written a few. They wrote one in the 70s.
Yeah.
So, anyway, the people who wrote it rewrote it, and they tried to bring it up, make some changes. And Jay, you were the point person on that. And
On this, yeah.
on this. So, what? Any main points you want to make?
Well, I will just say that as a board, we reviewed the proposed changes to the SPA, and we had questions, and we presented those to the county, and the county responded. And I guess all along I've been thinking we would go through those in detail, but I'm not sure that that's necessary. The county responded, I think, adequately, and there were some things that weren't even necessarily they didn't even necessarily require a response. We were just asking for clarification. So we could, I suppose, pleasure of the chair, we could do one of two things. We can go over it in detail, or I can just say that I think that the proposed changes are all in line with what we agreed with as a board, and I would
And
recommend.
when we discussed it prior to meeting.
Yeah, I would recommend that the L.M.A. approve the proposed changes to the SPA. But again, if you wanted, it depends on how much detail.
I'll ask the board, would you like to go over it point by point? Or,
Maybe the main concerns?
Would you like to hear? Would you like to hear it?
I would like Jay to kind of run through it, because
Okay.
we did have, you know, you can do it, and we can listen.
I'll pay
if
close
we-
attention to the clock.
Yeah, if we have a question there.
Okay.
And the purpose of this is that at DECMAC's meeting tomorrow, they are looking for us to have a yay or a nay, approval of these proposals, because then they will put forth their proposals for Walnut Grove and such in Cortland, which is input. So the county is looking for all of this to be able to get back to them. So this is, and we've been in this process for what, 3 months now, Jay?
I believe for about 3 months. Well, the first item that we had a question about was item number 1, and it pertained to reducing permitting times and costs. And I'm not going to read what the proposed change was, but our concern was that replacing signs was too vague, and we asked the county, shouldn't the signs adhere to the existing requirements? And the staff responded, the county staff responded that the proposed change in the SPA would require that new signs be reviewed and approved by the L.M.A. So that satisfied us, yes. And, so the county went so far as to ask if we wanted to get, I guess they were kind of worried that maybe we were saying we didn't want to have that approval authority. And I made it clear to the county that yes, the L.M.A. wants to retain that approval authority.
Yes.
So I think we're all good there. Okay. There was a question, I think it might have been from Brock or you, Russell. How many years, this question pertained to discontinued use of a building.
Oh, right.
And you had a question, I think, Brock, is this completely open-ended? I wasn't 100% sure what you meant by the question, but the staff responded, yes, there is currently no limit on the period of the discontinued use. So in other words, as I understand it, that means that a proposed new use has to adhere to some degree to the prior use, if I understand that correctly. This was out of my area of expertise and concern, actually, but I was, I know that you had some concerns. So the staff said, yes, there is currently no limit on the period of discontinued use. County staff is willing to consider placing a 3-year time limit on a discontinued use. But, we haven't discussed that any further. It's going to remain as it always has been, from what I can understand.
Great.
Is that fine? Okay. Then the next item was item 2. To us, the language was a little confusing. And the county answered it. I could read through it if you'd like, but it gets into the weeds on updating development standards. So
I did pass this out to the board at the last meeting. Everything you're reviewing for us
they've
now.
reviewed it, right?
The board didn't see that at the last meeting. We just want to make sure that we understood it as you see it.
As I understand it, especially for the areas that I know the most about, the county answered it, I think, adequately. So I think that overall the proposed changes to the SPA will result in more control, more local control, more streamlined review, and there's nothing that smells like a rat to me.
And did the Walnut Grove Homeowners Association, has that been limited to an advisory, not an?
Oh, to
equal-
the
it's not an
Sacramento
equal-
River Delta, yeah, that was
The
another,
Historical Society too. It's not an equally weighted decision-making body.
Yeah, it's further down.
well, and yeah,
Oh,
and
you're
that,
getting to it, okay.
and then actually, that's the last thing of any
Okay.
substance. There was another, we just needed some explanation on a later item, and they explained it.
Okay.
They were more of definitions, but the other substantive concern or change did involve the Sacramento River Delta Historical Society's approval authority over lock issues, and I think we all were very concerned about that.
Right.
And so our response to that proposed change was the L.M.A. objects to the SRDHS having approval authority over locks processes. If the county insists on this, then we, as the L.M.A., recommended that their comments be weighted at 10% or thereabout.
Right,
Okay.
right.
So the county responds. The SRDHS does not have approval authority over lots processes. They have commenting authority. The county's project manager will have approval authority over building permit plans. Okay. And I'll briefly, I've already gone 5 minutes here. In the proposed SPA, the proposed SPA will identify the L.M.A. as the primary review body for the review of building permit plans, and the SRDHS as the secondary review body. Project material will be referred to the, oh, you've already read all this again?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
this-
okay.
Okay, well,
Just so we
for those-
so
understand.
you, yeah, okay, I don't mean to belabor this,
That's
beat
okay.
it to death, but,
Yeah,
so, you know, that, I thought that was a good thing, so.
yeah. Okay.
On that,
Brock?
that did answer the question of how it was weighted, and then it's simply comments. Did they say anything, because you know, the HRDS,
Yeah,
the communication never, it'd be great to get their notes. You know, where we say we decide on something as a board. It goes to them, they make comments. Somehow the information from them never gets to us. So it would be nice, I mean, it doesn't seem like it's in the process, it sounds like.
there's no flow.
There's no
chart.
flow, yeah.
Or communication between
The
bodies.
two groups,
Right, yeah.
yeah. And I always thought, well, that's a little problem. It would be nice to get that information.
Can you recommend that to Tim?
And maybe the
only
notes.
other
Sure,
thing we
yeah,
thought
I'd be
we
happy
would
to make
like
that call tomorrow.
is if there's some way to incorporate in this plan check review that there is communication between.
I'm gonna put a flow chart issue between, to show the path of communication between the L.M.A. and the Sacramento River Delta Historical Society. And I'll include in that phone conversation the fact that we would like to be aware of what the Historical Society is saying
Yeah.
about the project.
Yeah, I mean, they could be finding something we just flat missed, and it would be great to be informed. Or maybe we totally disagree, and it's nice to
Exactly.
see where their problem
Exactly.
lies.
So we can go ahead and approve this with this addendum to be part of when, I'm assuming you're gonna go tomorrow, or?
No.
Isn't that the only- Probably go
Can
tomorrow.
we
We can make
send,
that.
can we send a letter to Tim in time for him to meet with DECMAC tomorrow that acknowledges that we approve with this final
On letterhead?
request?
Should be
Yes.
letterhead.
Will you be able to do that?
I'm in crunch time, I've got meetings tomorrow morning.
Can you
Can we
draft,
draft that?
can you draft me some notes and
Yeah.
I will?
I'll try hard. Maybe we could get it to him by noon tomorrow.
I will work with the chairman and have it sent out?
Yeah.
Just,
Yeah.
Well,
Even if we have to work on it
okay.
later.
before I entertain a motion, I do want to open it up to public
Yeah, of
comment.
Mhm.
Does anybody have any public comment on this issue?
I do.
Good, please come forward.
I would like to have a copy of any printed modifications you have, Mr. Correa. I would request that. Thank you.
Okay, we go with that.
Modifications that we're speaking about in
Any-
this moment or from last month?
whatever papers, communications or
That was in
suggestions?
last month's packet, I believe you were present.
Mr. Korea is writing some other notes in here. I
I
don't
think I
have a
have
copy of that.
You want a copy of my personal notes?
Whatever is public record, what is,
Okay.
I think it will all be available. We'll draft a letter and that'll be public record.
Yeah, we'll
And,
put it.
Before it's
in
put
the,
through.
We'll put it in the mailings. Let's put it in the mailings. Because it'll
Yeah.
be good for
Yeah.
all the
Yeah.
homeowners to know. So we'll put it in the mailings.
And the gist of the letter I can say right now is gonna be, we support the proposed changes.
Yeah.
We would like to see a flow chart outlining the flow of information between this body and the River Delta Historical Society. And we would like that flow of information to include being kept informed of their opinions on their comments.
Are there any more public comments? All right, I'll close public comments. Brock, you have something to say?
Yeah, I just remembered one of the other things that popped up. They had a lot of ideas that many of us thought were great, from the zoning changing for wine and beer tasting to bed and breakfast, all of those things. They had 4 or 5 different little ideas. I would like that we note or tell them, because all those ideas do not work if it's $5,000 for a bed and breakfast. If it's 10,000.
I have an answer for you.
Oh, you do?
Because I brought that up to Tim in an email. That was one of the concerns we had mentioned before, and he said that it's going to be somewhere around $1,000. After this new SPA is put in place, renting, less than 28 days, you will have to get a overnight rental permit. I don't know the exact title, but it will be about $1,000.
Okay. Did they mention the,
I had he didn't know what that actual process was, what the requirements were, in getting that permit.
we opposed, in my mind, I would like a little note saying to be sensitive to these costs, since we couldn't pinpoint, they were still up in the air and they're probably still deciding on it.
It
But
was
it wouldn't-
$14,000.
Yeah, 14,000, another one was, I mean, they were way out, you had to be a corporation to achieve this, but is there a way?
We can certainly include that in the letter to Tim, commenting that we hope that with the new change of adding the ability to rent overnight or less than 28 days without a special use permit, that fee would be a reasonable one.
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah, that's,
I can get
and not
that.
just on that
That's
one,
in
the
my
other
brain
ones
now.
too.
Okay, short.
Yes.
Sure.
So,
Yes, I
I
will.
entertain a motion. Would you like to make the motion, Jay?
I move that we approve the county's proposed changes to the lot special planning area.
And a second?
With the comments.
With the comments that we would like the flow chart defined between us and the River Delta Historical Society, including the ability of the L.M.A. to see their comments on projects that they are commenting on.
Also the fee.
Well, you're
Oh,
saying-
and you ought to say that.
Okay, I have recorded and
Yes.
Wu is seconding? Yes.
Okay, is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay. Very good. Moving on to the next old business, B. This is the final approval of the donation and placement of the Locke Foundation Historical Marker at Common Ground Lot number 159. Now, this has been brought before the board before, and we talked about it, but we've never really voted on it, our final approval, and that's what we're doing today. And those are you who are not familiar, it's the Native Sons of the Golden West have donated a wonderful bronze plaque, which they do. It's an expensive plaque to Locke to commemorate the Chinese and their existence and their plight and what they went through. And on May 24th at 12 o'clock, they're going to...
April.
Okay, April 24th, thank you. jumps around, we're gonna have a dedication. And you're all welcome to show up and photograph it. If you want to bring your videos, that'd be wonderful. And so that's what we're gonna vote on. So we'll start with discussion from the board. Did you pass, have these
Because
been given out?
everyone has the map. Stuart Walpole, chairman of the Lock Foundation, provided us with an outline of and details of where it would be placed. We had not seen where it would be placed yet.
Now, the board's
And there are
quite
copies
familiar
out on
with
the
this.
table.
Does anyone have any questions on the board?
Well, it looks like it's being placed right up in the front.
Yeah, towards the front. I guess you can see it from the car or if you're walking by it.
This is Main Street.
This is the main street.
Main Street should have been marked. Main Street is in the bottom right
That's good.
area of the
Oh,
page.
okay.
This is Main Street.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, the front of Main Street.
Does the audience have copies?
I put a stack of them out. I see some on the table. Yeah.
Okay.
Put a bunch.
I can't hear. I can't hear. My hearing aids are,
Oh, no.
yeah, I've got one that's halfway working, I've got new ones on order. I'm at a loss, I'm having to bug this lady to find out where we're at.
Oh, Oscar knows everything.
So can I?
No, sure.
just
Well, let's
make a
open it up to the.
Can I
Yeah,
make a comment?
Yeah, please.
Because basically previously I made, can I?
Yes?
Okay. Because previously I made a drawing for this.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and Stuart, he has the drawing, and we were going to discuss, eventually, basically, initially I was thinking of putting that place in different location, and just I thought that Stuart will discuss with me.
I see.
So I just, because I have plans, I don't think so that in this place that would fit in all the design.
I see.
So, because I'm seeing different place, as I made a project for that.
Okay.
I have a design
Okay.
ideas, and
Alright.
just Stuart has a drawing.
Are you familiar with this?
So I just didn't bring this time, just I didn't know that you were going to talk about this.
The location that Stuart designated, but I
Right.
guess I have to know what.
Just little bit
What
different
is the
place in
problem?
this
Well,
part.
here's the problem.
Here we go.
The designs, this is just for the location of the marker. The
Right.
designs aren't.
I just,
Yeah,
okay,
but
okay.
what she's mentioning, and I do agree with her, the marker, maybe he got moved around on where the road is, or maybe he wants it that close, but it was originally, as I saw, towards
Yeah.
the back, maybe the
Yeah.
back right corner. And I agree with her because I think you lose the visibility from the street, but it gets in the way of everything else. I mean, it's right in front, where it would be a nicer moment, in my opinion, to see it in the back right
Yes.
corner or left corner where it would work with
Yeah.
the designs.
Well, thank you very much. This is great, because I was not, as I said, this was given to me through the foundation. So we're the board, we decide where it goes. So let's see what this board says. What do you
Well,
think?
when I was speaking,
Wait,
Go ahead.
when Stuart and I were walking by, he pointed out to that location, which is in the back right corner from the road. This is kind of, it's a little confusing, but where this is would be straight
and you're
back.
questioning it too.
Right, I thought it was this.
Yeah,
So
because
maybe
that's
he drew it in the wrong corner.
Well, I have a different information.
Okay, go
So
ahead.
let's just make this completely confusing.
Here we go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Too bad we can't hold on. He said specifically to me that he, as he marked here, he said this drawing is not to scale, but that he is allowing for a 36-inch pedestrian, wheelchair friendly walking path right by the main street. So this is set back roughly or more than 36 inches from the street.
Right. Oh, yeah.
He specifically said to me that he wanted it towards the front because he wants people walking casually on Main Street or this future path to easily see it and to not miss it. So he was specifically wanting it not in the corner. I don't know what his plans were in working with Asta, but when he handed this to me to pass out to everyone,
Yes.
he knew where he was putting it. Now I do see that he's not saying, he doesn't have a measurement from the curb line or the beginning of, those things on there, but he is pointing out and drew in, there's at least 36 inches in front of where this marker is, and if you looked at the drawing, it would seem it's possibly even more, maybe 4 feet.
Well, can we move it back some and make a compromise? Really?
Yeah.
I know time is of the essence
5
because
feet,
this is
yeah.
our meeting,
To do
and
it.
we won't have it. at a
Say
meeting
6
time.
feet from the edge of the curb, which would give the 3 feet for the walking space, and then another 3 feet at least. The monument will be moved back from that. So in other words, this
Yeah.
proposed pedestrian, that's 36 inches, 3 feet, right? And then another 3 feet back from that would be the front corner of the monument, or
Yeah.
maybe 4 feet.
Okay.
So you can still read it, you could not,
Well,
Do you
I
think-
thought his point was well taken, that if it was back in the corner, it would be missed.
Sure.
It was way hidden in the corner, I agree, yeah. Asta, does that sound right?
No, just really, just I'm not prepared for this. I just can show you raw drawing, what I had in mind, you remember that?
Yeah.
It was like, here's the pathway and we will be there.
Right.
And here are plans.
And
So
And
so
put it
you're
in.
saying it is
Yeah.
in the back corner?
It is in the
Yeah,
back
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
So you're talking about this or this.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, that's good. That's what you said. Okay.
Sure.
While we're looking at that, I'm going to open it up to, keep it open, I guess, to public. Martha, you had something to say?
Yes, I do. Thank you. I have 5 concerns that come to mind immediately. Number 1, when did notifications to the 38 property owners of Lot 159, have you made notifications to
That's
the
one.
38 property owners?
And what else?
No, I'm asking you,
I
have
don't know,
you?
what is your, I want to get them all down first before I think about it. What's the second one?
Number 2, what is the wording on your plaque? We haven't seen the final wording. We'd like to know if it includes all 23 countries of origin who lived here in 1930, according to the United States Census, which includes more Russians and Spaniards than any other foreign entity. It was not only Chinese folks here. And we'd like to see a plaque that recognizes everyone's contributions to lot.
Okay, and 3?
I've brought this up at several of your meetings so far, and you have yet to answer me. On March 21st of 2015, you removed, or the Lock Foundation paid to remove the sidewalk, the cement sidewalk that was there. It was a 10-foot wide sidewalk, not a 3-foot wide sidewalk as you've got marked here. It was a 10-foot wide sidewalk.
So the question is,
You've created a trip hazard.
what's the question?
You've created a trip.
What's the question?
I'm getting to the question, Mr. Ooms.
I don't need this. Yeah, this is off, we're talking about placement right now of this plaque. So there is no more
Your
sidewalk.
organizations have created a trip hazard that creates a liability for people coming over to my ice cream parlor.
So
There's a 3-inch trip hazard because you removed the cement sidewalk and people trip there and can fall and then.
Okay, so what's the 4th one?
Less than a minute left.
Yeah.
The top third of this diagram that you have here is your private backyard and your private backyard, but it is supposed to be common ground, pedestrian easement walkthrough. You have made a fence
This isn't
going
pertaining
right
to this
there.
project right here. We're talking about the placement of the plaque, and That's what we're approving, the plaque.
Okay,
So,
you
anything
are
else about
showing,
the plaque? Is there anything else about the plaque?
this is common ground,
We're not
lot
talking about this, we're
159.
talking about the plaque.
Yes, maybe you could put your plaque, your bronze plaque that you have not had approved by the 38 property owners of the town in your backyard,
Okay,
which is part of our common
is
ground,
that?
owned by the
Yeah,
38 property owners, right
Okay.
there.
Well, then, your 3 minutes are up. Thank you very much.
I have one more.
I will allow you to
concern.
say your fifth one. Go right ahead.
This town has 20 children under the age of 18 in it. Currently, the kids ride their bikes in the street, they play in the street and in the cement parking lot. It would be nice if we could have a small play structure in our last remaining park, instead of yet another monument that makes the place look like a cemetery.
Okay, wonderful. Well, let's go through, I can answer some of these questions, and if the board can help me.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend.
Public comments, I would.
Pardon?
Then we discuss it.
We don't want to, we're under, we have 3 cameras, so I want to answer this.
But it's
As a
not a
chairman.
Q&A, Russell.
But it's a decision a chairman makes, and I'm going to make it.
Well,
So let me
I'm gonna
speak.
say it's not in order though, we're
That's
still
okay.
on public comments.
I know, we took public comments. Are there any more public comments on this? Okay, public comments is closed. All right, I'm going to take it one by one. Notification, we do not have to notify. We make decisions, we are elected, and there are appointed members to make decisions. That is the process that was set up by the Board of Supervisors, and we have the legal authority to make that decision. That's who we are. It's an elected government, representative government. That's how it works.
You are not
Two-
elected.
What? Do not talk.
You haven't had an election
Do not
since December of
interrupt me. Do not talk.
2009.
Do not talk.
That was the last time you were elected. You were
Listen,
elected.
please, I'm going to ask you to leave.
You're the first
I'm
one
going
on
to
the
ask
ballot
you to leave. I'm
too.
not going to, you've held 55 meetings hostage over 5 years. You've disrupted.
No, you
And you
held
know
them
you have.
hostage. You
55
are
years.
not elected. You are self-appointed,
Call for adjournment.
crony-appointed.
Would you please call me for adjournment?
What was I going to
Call.
Adjourn the meeting?
Yes. Do I have a second to adjourn the meeting?
Yes.
Okay, all those in favor of adjourning the meeting right now, adjourn. Please, signify by saying aye. Okay, good. There's no meeting. There's no meeting.
I came all the way down here to talk to this board. I signed up on the public.
Well, we can't have a
We
meeting when
cannot
she
have a
interrupts.
meeting that's disrupted. So Martha, leave.
Leave and
Martha,
continue.
get out of here. This is
So
the
that other
ground.
people in the public
Leave the
can
meeting.
ask
the
their
meeting.
questions.
I
I
have
will
a
step outside.
right here. It says you leave. Thank you.
That's just awkward.
Okay. Wonderful. All right.
Would you like to, Mr. Lee, returns to receipt?
Yeah, I will convene a meeting.
This is an issue that's been going on for 5 years. So that's what we're dealing with. This is nothing that's happening tonight. It's a 5-year issue. So I'm trying to make sense of it. I'm trying to do business. We're trying to move the town forward. We have not been able to move this town forward in 5 years. We've been under a legal cloud, and it's over. It's been decided.
So I'll make a note that the meeting was adjourned at 7:33.
Great. That's a nice, quiet meeting.
So is the meeting adjourned or not?
Well, we're gonna bring it back in a minute. We removed the disruption.
One of our directors is in the restroom, so.
We could, but
We're
I
on
don't
a-
want to.
we're on a break.
No.
Bio break, we call it in my commission.
I can't hear you.
Daryl.
Huh?
He's in the bathroom.
I'm an investigator.
Flushed it twice.
Yeah, we're.
Oh, okay.
I know.
I'm searching
Yeah,
for
we
the
know.
truth.
No, that's just, that's out of order.
Okay.
I used to have a boat at Boathouse Marine. That counts.
Well, at the bottom.
We don't, we don't query the whole town if we hire someone to trim brush away.
We did?
I'm sorry?
You don't put, you don't notice the entire town when you trim trees.
No, we make decisions. So I'd like to call this meeting back to order at the time.
7:35.
So we're back on the same review item about this common ground. So it's
Can I
placement now.
interrupt one
Yes,
second?
go right ahead.
In the event that she returns to interrupt the meeting, she's agreed to leave and leave the meeting.
Yes.
If she returns, she's now
In
gone
violation
back?
of the Brown Act.
Yes, are we canceling it then? Because we can't have a meeting if she's just gonna scream from the crowd.
I know, this is our problem. This is going for 5 years.
I would like to say,
5 years in trouble.
I'm in favor of re-adjournment only on the circumstance that she remains, she removed herself, said she'd leave.
Right.
If she continues with that, I'm happy to go about our business so people that travel down here can have their say.
Well, how about if she re-enters and she stays quiet, that's fine. We don't immediately say, we're going to adjourn as soon as she walks back in. But if she says that she, then, she can.
She's planning to walk back in.
I understand that, that's the reason that if she is.
Okay, so the
civil,
agreement then that we have,
Yeah.
if she walks back in and speaks, we'll adjourn
She
again.
gets disruptive.
If she becomes disruptive.
Yeah.
She can speak at the next thing of public comments or on the agenda.
I think it's important that we approve the
Yeah, this is.
plaque location.
We need to
So
do
let's-
our business.
Okay, so back to the plaque.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the placement of the plaque towards the front of the lot, allowing for plenty of room for a replacement of a pedestrian walkway.
I second that.
I would like to comment, I think it's a mistake. I think it gets in the way. A lot of people use that park to eat lunch, and it gets in the way of all design and trips people up. So I would not be in favor of that.
How about if, we do have a design and review committee at this point, right? That when that stone, because it's a physical stone, when it can be.
It's not a stone.
No,
It's not a stone.
It's just concrete.
It's a post.
It's
It's
a
12 feet off the
Oh,
ground,
okay.
So.
at an angle,
At
30
an
degrees.
angle, but it can be moved. In other words, we can take a look at it as it's being placed and saying, oh, that doesn't really look good. And then move it back a few feet or move it a
I
few
don't
feet
think
over.
you can do that because it's
But the
heavy.
cement will be,
It's gonna be.
And you don't want someone to steal it, you don't want it to be picked up
No,
in the
it's
first
actually, it's
place.
going to be made in place.
It's a
Right.
4x4
with cement and rebar, it's
filled with
permanent.
concrete with a base in the
But you can
ground.
still put the base, in other words, once you put the base down, I mean, just even laying out some 4x4s as the beginning of the base, you'll be able to tell if that's going to be too close. You don't have to erect the entire thing, but just visually, can't we have a little bit more, rather than locking ourselves into one fixed spot, have it so that it can have a little bit more fluidity
Well, who's
to it.
gonna
don't
decide
think we
whether
can-
it's gonna be in
What
the
if you
right
can't
spot
decide?
when the cement truck is here?
No,
Oh,
I don't
No,
think
no,
we can.
this was before the cement truck arrives. This is, giving us a little bit more flexibility of saying, just the projection of, because right now, this is, as Astra said, she envisioned it further in the back and with this walking trail around it, which is kind of a little, it's in between where it is now and all the way back. It was kind of halfway between those two.
Well, maybe I can solve this. Let's approve it there somewhere. And we'll make it a somewhat shaky target where it ends up. But let's
Sure, yeah.
approve the monument.
Absolutely.
And then
Approve the placement.
approve the placement somewhere there in that park.
Right.
And then we can talk with Stuart, and we can get Asta there. and we can make-
I mean, I would argue that at a later date, when the park is fully planned, you will have the ability to move that.
We can move anything.
Everything's
Yeah.
so.
So who gave the motion?
I had moved, I can amend
Would you take back your second?
I take back my second.
Would you like to remake the motion?
Why don't
Take back your
somebody
motion.
else remake the motion at this point, because
Okay.
I'm trying to keep notes and keep track of
I'll make a motion.
Okay.
I move that we accept the donation of the plaque from the Native Sons of the Golden West, and that the placement of the historical marker on Common Ground Lot 159 be approved pending consensus on the exact location within Lot 159.
Perfect. Do I hear a second?
I'll second that
Motion.
motion.
Before we vote on it, is there any other thing from the audience? Just open it up one more time.
On the location
Well, the motion doesn't speak. Okay, wonderful. So, again, you know the motion?
Yep.
Okay, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Talk after this.
Great. Cool. This is the
Let
main.
me suggest something.
Yes.
I think if we take a wooden 4x4 post, walk out there, just kind of,
Oh, I like it.
and then I say, you know what, it looks good here.
Right.
Right. Or have Asta there.
So Mark
It has to
knows
see it, right.
where Stuart wants it located.
Yeah, but
When
how
Mark
is-
puts the wood 4x4, you all can go and check it.
Sure.
But how does the public, you
Oh,
know,
then that's-
See it in the back?
yeah, it just seems.
No, if it's elevated, and isn't that what you're saying?
Yeah, it's gonna be elevated.
It's elevated,
It's
so he's
20
3.5
by
feet
28.
above
It's big.
ground.
It's big.
Yeah, well, I just feel like we're getting our carriage ahead of the horses. We don't have the design of the park. I know we want to get it in for the.
Well, that's why
event.
her motion was to accept the plaque.
That's all.
Accept the plaque and locate it somewhere on 159.
Thank you. And that's what we voted on. Yes, Jay.
Would it help, I'll just briefly say that part of my duties during my day job is to manage the California Historical Landmarks Program. There are about 1,060 of those right now. We get about a call a month telling us that one's gonna get moved here and there.
Oh,
So,
okay.
right now, in the last month, I received 2 phone calls, both from Oakland, 2 different plaques that are going to be moved around a bit.
I see.
So these things get moved.
We'll make everyone happy, I think.
Hopefully they don't get moved by someone breaking the law and trying to steal.
Right. Yes, Andy?
I have a comment. Why don't you go next week and walk out there and hold it up and see if it works in the feng shui of everything, so that when you go the next week to put it in, that you've all agreed, instead of half of you and, just to get a little shaky. Because there's like some feng shui and some energy, and if it's too close and too high.
Well, thank you. I think that was Darryl Wu's idea. Bring a wood 4x4 and hold it up and.
You're
move
gonna
it
do
around.
that next week?
Next week, yeah. We store it. Well, thank you. Let's move on. New business. This is a request for volunteers, and Asta, you're here, financial assistance with the River Road cleanup project by the estate of George Heiner and Terry Black. Asta, would you like to talk, or do you want me to present?
Yeah,
this?
you can represent, I will show drawings and
Oh, okay.
you can start.
Well, what this is we're in the middle. George Heiner died about 2 months ago. He used to own a boathouse, and he had definite ideas about what to do up on River Road. So we kind of have an opening while the state is being settled to go up there and clean it up and fix it up and put rock up there and make it the eye appeal of the town when you go by very nice. And that's what
We have
we're
a
working
plot
towards.
plan showing the
Yeah.
area too.
We do, and Asta has drawn it up. Asta is a landscape
Architect, yes.
and she lived with George, you lived
Yes,
with her?
yes, I was working at the boathouse, and
Yeah.
I started because I'm architect from my country. From my
Yes.
country, I came here 7 years ago, and when I started working with George, we had plans, and so I made plans for to beautify lot. So it's really, I need to modify a little bit the front, that's how I started.
And the other one you can
I made those
share with
plans
the
like,
audience a little bit?
yes,
Just I've seen it, so I
Okay.
know.
Yeah, I'm pretty familiar with this too.
Yes.
Everyone that
Okay, come up here.
Yeah,
Yeah, yes, and
state's property.
Oh, yeah, I didn't say that. The reason we're working with George Heiner Estates is because that
You
was
wanna put the
Southern
full-size
Pacific
one in?
Railroad
Full
property.
size, you can.
And George Heiner owned that all the way on this side of the whole front of
It's
town.
great.
George Heiner owned.
Yes.
The bridge or the front door or?
No, it's a concrete wall that runs the length of the town. It's a
Right.
it's a concrete wall in the graveyard.
Excuse me, can you hold that up so I can film?
Oh, yes, I'm, wait.
Put this, they're proposing to put
Good.
It's deep into the property line, it's in the.
So the cleanup
The property
project
line's
is
way
not
back.
for L.M.A. owned.
Be like $5,000, I think, is what it was.
That I think that will be taken care of by, not me, I'm doing just drawings and
Yes.
proposing and.
So what
I
I talked
think
about
this-
is having the L.M.A. share part of the cost. I believe Terry is going to share part of the cost. There's going to be some donations to share part of the cost. And the majority of the cost is in the rock. It's $40 a yard, and it's quite a drop off. And the idea is to make it a much safer when you pull off, and a much safer.
Yes, that's for safety issues also. to
So are
put
we
that.
gonna fill that gulch?
No,
From-
Potholes.
It's just from the road to that gulch, at least 4 feet from that gulch. We're gonna put rock and bring it up maybe 6 inches, at least, not much. We're not, because in some places it's a foot down,
Right.
and we don't wanna put a foot of
So
rock.
it's about $5,000, and is the Heiner estate gonna contribute anything?
I'm sorry,
I
I'm
do not
contributing my drawings, my just, now we are in transition, the state is in transition, that we are allowed to do all that. And just, I think there is not a big issue with the money, I think. In this way, how we're going to do it won't be so expensive. Like we thought before with George, but now when I see that who are involved in this project, so we really can do it. And that's a very good time.
So it's been scaled back, just to say. It was more of a grandiose, much bigger,
Yes.
extensive.
Yes.
And now it's very simple. It's just a simple 34-inch
Yes.
high, 30-inch
Yes.
high,
Yes.
2-board, 2x6 fence going across, posts in the ground and rock.
Yes.
And then we're gonna also clean a lot of the vegetation away. Because
But you can't ask us for assistance if you don't tell us
I
how much
don't
it costs.
asking
I
you
know
like,
you're not
I'm just
gonna-
representing.
Right.
And I'm representing the project. I'm not asking your assistance, maybe just the support and volunteering to do things and everything like is in a way of organization now. Everyone, I think it's involved. I'm not asking you for money.
Oh, no,
Okay.
no money.
It's just
Can
gonna
I-
improve.
Yes.
Rock.
Summarize, can I
Yes,
summarize
yes,
and you
yes,
tell me if I get it wrong?
Okay.
So, the object with your plans here with the George Heiner estate,
Yes.
you're gonna go through that top part, you're gonna clean up some of the overgrown vegetation. You're gonna put in a fence.
Yes. Yes.
I think it was 36 inches is the
Yeah,
safety.
36,
Yes.
yeah.
Mhm.
And then you're gonna backfill a little gravel on the
Yes.
George Heiner estate
Yes.
where the potholes and
Yes.
a lot of people park.
Yes. Yes.
Does that sound right?
Yes.
That's
So what is the
simplified.
proposal before us? I
The
just-
proposal is for
Request for
support the
volunteer,
concept.
support the concept. It's
And-
written,
Well, it also said financial
Financial
assistance, but OSEP has just made that clear that she is not asking for money at this time.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
For good,
And-
like volunteering and just to support this idea and do everyone who can do.
right.
Volunteer is
for the-
manpower.
Sorry?
Manpower.
Volunteer is manpower.
Yeah,
Yes, yes,
Okay.
yes, yes.
and we can't wait till you show up.
Right. Put on my hard hat.
Bring your deep boots, you know, your high muck gloves or whatever they're called.
So before I entertain a motion to approve the concept, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to comment on this? Who have just seen it and thought about it?
We, usually don't we have a motion on the floor and then?
Sometimes I
Do you
do.
want to do that?
Yeah,
Oh, wherever you want. Okay,
because we might incorporate something they say
Okay,
into our
very good.
motion.
great.
And, oh, anybody say anything? Sandy, you have a comment?
Yeah, I went the other day, and I'm kind of a newcomer, but I heard a lot of great ideas, and there were a lot of people that were enthused. But to myself, I thought, well, who is going to pay for this? And so I think eventually, once you approve this, then is the next step we go find out what the cost is?
Yes, and the money will follow.
And the money will follow?
I believe that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it's, I have a question for the chair. I mean, this is not an L.M.A. project.
No.
Right, just make that, no,
And
I
she's
didn't think it was, I
Thank you
just
for
clarified.
clarifying.
They're being very neighborly, which I commend them on that,
It's
to
not our
get,
land.
I know, but I like their approach
Me too.
to get all the
That's-
neighbors and people that it will affect their lives involved this time.
Yeah, it's wonderful, Oscar. Really is, yeah. So do I hear approve the concept of cleaning up, putting a fence, and putting some rock?
Sounds like your motion.
Okay.
comments?
I'll make the motion.
You have comments, Joe?
I'll take this, if the chair's pleasure, I will make one little comment.
Little
And I support the concept of the plan, but I just want to caution everybody present that we have to be very, very careful about caramelizing walk. I mean, we don't want to make it too cutesy and inaccurate historically. But I'm sitting here mulling things over in my mind, and I think that minimal fence is fine. But I'm just gonna
I told Chris
make a
Spencer
little cautionary.
he would have an ally in you. Because Chris Spencer wants to build 19 different fences. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Right.
Thank you for allowing me to comment.
Okay. Yes, Darryl.
So, I'm
Can I have
gonna
public
break
comment
this,
now?
I'm gonna break this project up into pieces that I can digest.
Okay.
First part of the project is to clean up the landscape. Second part of the project is to backfill potholes. And the third part of the project is maybe a little decorative fence, 3-foot, 2-rail, whatever.
I believe the fence was second because they're gonna bring the rock up to the fence and
Okay.
use that.
All right.
Okay.
I would avoid the word decorative. It's more of a delineating fence, a
Yeah, I don't
safety
think-
fence.
well, it's a safety
Safety fence.
Let's, phase one, the clearing the property. Sure, you can ask for volunteers to help you clean it up. I'm all for that. It's the second and third phases that I have a little bit of concern about. In terms of the L.M.A's involvement. We volunteer to lay rock or something, or volunteer to pick up rails or whatever they're gonna build a small fence with. But I don't want, I fear on private property, the acceptance of L.M.A. liability. Because if we, as the L.M.A. get involved, we're assuming certain liability, and we're, as a public entity, I don't want to assume somebody's liability on private property. So I just throw that out as a caution. I'm all in favor of cleaning up. This is just conceptual anyway. Beyond the concept, phase one is cleaning it up and asking for volunteers. I'm all in favor of that. The sticky wicket will come when, if and when the project proponent comes back to the L.M.A. It depends on what the ask is. So I just throw it out there because I want it to be, you all to take, to consider that as we move, as the project moves forward.
With the liability issues.
Thank you for pointing that out.
Yes. Fashion. Well, then, I'm still gonna make a motion to approve the concept of cleaning it up and beginning the project, however it goes.
The concept of the
The
project.
concept of the project.
Exactly.
Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
Okay. Any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstained? Okay, moving on to communications. You have communications?
Yes, I did receive an email. Well, first of all, I did put a few of the flyers out from the Lock Waterworks
Oh, right.
company, and that is posted on the bulletin board that they are going to have a meeting for the community, an open meeting for the community to come and hear about the issues with the locked water. And that will be on the 14th of April. And it's going to take place at the Joe Shum School right across the way at, I believe it's 6:30, but the flyers is out there and they're on the bulletin board. And the other communication I received was from Sean and Teresita Stevens. Boy, I always have it right at hand when I'm at home. They own a building on Main Street, I believe it's 13931. It's the building on Main Street on the east side that they put a whole new balcony on top, on the second story. And they are going to put that up for sale.
Put the building up for
The whole
sale.
building, yeah, not just the balcony. Yes, the whole building is going to be up
Is
for
that the one
sale.
where the bottom is locked food and wine?
Yes.
That's exactly correct.
Okay.
Downstairs is Lock Food and Wine, and Sean and Teresita Stevens have informed the board that they are going to put that building up for sale.
I know it's order, but those knee braces really bug me.
I know.
And they bugged me tonight when I came to this meeting.
Other than that, I think.
And also,
communications.
the mammograms, I should have brought those flyers. They're offering free mammograms in Walnut Grove if they can get 20 people to show up. So I have flyers.
It's April, right? It's like a week from now.
Health service clinic or?
Yeah, it's a farm clinic,
All right.
but anybody can use it. And they're just trying to get at least 20 people to come down, so hopefully 20 people will come. Okay. Any other communications? Anybody else? Public comments. Now is the time. Opening the floor to speak out, please.
All right, mine is more public inquiry.
Cool.
And I'll introduce myself. I'm Mark Dindy. I've been a Sacramento County resident since gotta remember when I moved here, 1990. Moved here from back east. And I've run the river a million times. Used to have a cabin cruiser across at Boathouse Marina. That's where I think I recognized you from earlier today. Do you have a boat over there?
No, I don't.
No. Anyway, and then I worked for Fishing Game, and I would travel the river every day, stop at Walleye Grove and Mel's Woke and have lunch. But here I'm you don't want to hear this, but I'm an investigative reporter and filmmaker. And I loved you for a minute there, Robert, and I hated you. You were giving me so much good stuff, but I was having to rewrite my whole thing here. You talked about being informed, and you said it'd be nice to get information. Well, my purpose here is to get nice, accurate information. And so I'm making a documentary, but I'm making it about small town power, corruption, as well as how history is rewritten. Because I really don't think history here in Locke is accurate at all. Let me get my notes. This has been perpetuated. I even told my wife when I first came down here, this is a Chinese community, totally, almost all Chinese. And you look around and it seems to be. But if you look at the board, the makeup is about what percentage of Chinese were here back when Locke was built. If you look at the census.
May I just say one thing before you go on?
Sure.
We researched that census very
Oh,
clearly.
you got to speak up.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just want to say something about the census. The census has been the deciding document whether this is a Chinese town or not. The census. The 1930 census.
Not just 1930, 1920.
1920, I'm gonna go there, is because the census taker, we followed him, James.
Well, that was in 1930, but the.
1930.
But the point of this is how you design what you term by the term block.
I'm not debating the fact that it's town of
Some things
building.
aren't worth arguing because you're not.
This is public comments.
All right,
Jeez.
Well,
Thank you.
3 minutes, go ahead.
I think,
I took 3 minutes.
We understand, I understand, you're here as an investigative reporter, this is what you think, you're more welcome to your opinion, history.
I'm not giving you my opinion, I'm searching for the truth. That's what an investigative reporter does. Now,
Sure.
I'm asking you, non-Chinese, what was the makeup back in the 20s and 30s? What was the makeup?
Chinese.
This isn't the place to discuss.
All
This
Chinese.
is, hey, this is public comments, it's not a Q&A.
And it's not a Q&A.
I can't help myself.
You know,
Okay.
no, yeah, don't interview.
That's fine.
You can
Come
interview
later,
people.
can you come back and interview?
Yeah, interview
James?
individuals.
Absolutely.
Okay,
I was trying to determine whether the Lock Foundation and the Lock Management Association are set up as two separate entities, right?
yes.
Okay. So clarify this. They're made up by the same board members. Basically, yes. Yes, I looked at the board, the members. So
Okay.
is one, what's the purpose of one and the other? Could you tell me that?
I think you, wait a minute, Russell,
All right.
you know what,
Okay.
go to the county and get the documents.
Please, we can answer all your questions, but let's not do it here in the meeting.
Okay.
That's all.
It's public
It's
comments.
public comments.
I mean, it's very generous,
Yeah.
I want to say, it's very generous of the chairman
Yes.
to want to engage.
I do.
It's want to answer, and I know it's hard for you to
I
resist
know.
answering people's questions, to help them be informed, but we do have a time limit.
Okay,
and
I didn't know where,
can't
I'm
answer
just starting somewhere.
You're right, but this,
James.
Start,
He's, he's historical. He's
wait a minute,
historical.
no, I suggest that you go to the county library,
I've been there.
and I suggest that you go.
I started
Wait,
this
you're interrupting me,
long time ago.
I'm trying to help you out here. You should go to the Huntington Library in San Marino. You should go to the Bancroft Library, and I think you should consult with the PhD historians. I think you should consult with qualified historians that work for the National Park Service and other academic historians who have spent a lifetime researching the history of California. Those are just some suggestions. So, but I would also state that, I've been to a lot of city council meetings, and people don't come to city council meetings and start trying to interview the city council about the history of Sacramento. So I'm sorry we don't have time to engage in these things.
That's
Yeah,
fine.
okay.
I didn't figure, I got more time than I expected to get from you guys.
Yeah. We gave you more time than the 3 minutes. So.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And is there anyone else?
By the way, all of you should read the little plaque you have on the wall there. Do you know what it is? Back in the corner? It says under the authority of the Historic Sites
All
Act.
right.
I read history all day long.
I sat here and wrote it down.
Okay, yes, Jay.
I had a couple of Oh, I'll just make that when you were talking about Chris wanting to make the fences all different.
Yes.
That risks creating false history also, just so
there
you
you
know.
go.
Okay.
Are
So,
there any more public comments?
no more public comments.
Anyone else?
Okay. I will call this meeting adjourned.
Thank you. That was a great meeting, Russell.
Thank you.
Outstanding.
I have to shut up. I can't have myself, I can't stand it with false history.
When I see, people